Joining us, Todd Weaver. He is the founder, CEO, creator of something called Purism. And I've been watching you with some great interest. It was a Kickstarter project initially?
Yeah, right. Well, it was a crowdfunded. It was on a different
wasn't on
site,
Kickstarter.
crowd supply, but the same exact thing, which is, of course, crowdfunding to see if there's interest and then be able to manufacture the hardware.
So what was the pitch on the initial product?
It was actually the product we have over here, the 15.6-inch laptop.
This looks just like a Macintosh. Not this one, the other one, the silver one. This looks just like a Macintosh. It's aluminum unibody, right?
That's right, yeah. And actually one of the reasons we ended up doing the anodized dark finish is because while Apple can't actually patent aluminum, they might as well have. So
they own it.
Right, exactly. So
you can't get it.
That's right. So we actually anodize our aluminum in the later version, so the 13-inch version.
Okay, but it's the same underneath the anodization.
Yeah, it's actually, anodized is actually just a
black carbon layer.
It's a chemical
right?
to change the actual compound.
It looks like a great laptop, but what makes it different from any other? It's running Linux. It's running, what version of Linux do you run?
Well, we actually are running a PureOS, which is our own fork of Debian. So what we did is we took Debian main because it has no binary blobs or mystery code running in the actual mainline or the kernel. And then we specifically sourced hardware chips to manufacture the motherboard without any chips that would require binaries in the kernel.
So no NVIDIA video cards in there?
No, that's
no Intel Wi-Fi
No, that's correct.
What is in there?
So what we have is, it is an Intel based, so this is an Intel i7 and the 13-inch is an Intel i5.
Nice.
And then it's running a Qualcomm Atheros wireless, which is one that, so basically what we did is initially we actually used a lot of free software tools, so Hnode, and then I met with Richard Stallman to try and talk through.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah, sure, to try and talk through.
What does the Free Software Foundation say about this?
Well, once we get the Intel ME, which is a binary inside the BIOS itself, then we will submit for Respects Your Freedom certification.
So that's one thing that he doesn't like about this. It has the Intel ME code in there, but it does not have, you were telling me that in order for the ME, and we've read a lot about that lately, this management, what is it, management environment?
It's a management engine.
As being kind of potentially spyware and allowing Intel perhaps to enter your computer without your permission. It requires more than just the software to do that.
Oh, absolutely. So let me back up and say that, so Richard Stallman, we are submitting for Free Software Foundation endorsement of the operating system. Because we are free from the bootloader, the kernel, the operating system, and all applications.
Nice.
Okay. The hardware itself gets back to the ME.
Right.
So the ME is actually an issue where you need three things to have it be this thing that people are worried about, which is remote access.
Right.
So the first thing you need is a CPU that actually has what the marketing term is called vPro, but that's actually the AMT chip on the CPU itself, and we don't have that.
Okay.
Then the second thing that you need is the management engine binary, and there's two types of binaries they provide. There's a commercial version and the consumer version. The commercial version is larger and it has the full communication stack to have remote access. The smaller version, the consumer version, does not have that, but of course it's still mystery code. It's a binary, so we want to remove it. But we don't have it. We are using it today.
You don't want any code on here that you can't actually read the source code for.
That's exactly right, and it just gets down to the belief system, right? So our belief is exactly aligned with the Free Software Foundation's belief system, which is that you should be able to control your entire device, right? Nobody else should control it. So that gets back to why we even started Purism. So let me just finalize this other piece. The third piece you need to have Intel AMT support is an Intel wireless card. So we don't have that. So of the three things required, we only have one, which is a hindered version, which is the Intel ME binary.
Nothing could really happen.
Yes, right. Well, but the reason that we started...
And by the way, we should point out, that's a completely legitimate stack for managed computers in an enterprise. The IT department wants to be able to manage the computer. That's fine. But as a personal computer user, you may not want that potential to exist.
That's right. So you're exactly right. So there's obviously a need for that, and the reason why Intel created it. So we actually ended up even putting out a petition and had over 1,000 knowledgeable, specifically about BIOS related coding, submit to, so that we can end up communicating with Intel about the fact we want to have the option to have a completely freed
no
CPU.
ME code.
That's right.
What's the BIOS in here?
So on the 13-inch, we have Core Boot. On the 15-inch,
and that's an open source BIOS.
That's right. It's a free software BIOS with the exception of those few binaries,
like the
Intel
ME,
ME, and another one called the Intel FSP.
And you need that to interact with the Intel system on a chip.
That's right. It basically, well, it's interesting about the ME. We've actually run it for 30 minutes without the ME.
Oh, really?
So that's when we went back to Intel and said,
you don't really need this.
Yeah, we don't need it. But they have a watchdog timer that kills your machine after 30 minutes. And so that's what we actually, Intel calls it an ME-less design because of our communication with them. But one of the reasons that I wanted to start Purism is because there isn't anybody pushing into the supply chain the belief system of users should have control.
Right.
So when I sit down, I can actually negotiate. So I purchase Intel, and the best way to negotiate is to have leverage, and the best way to have leverage is by paying money.
By being a customer.
Right. That's right. So that gets to the heart of we can actually change things for the better in the long term, and so that's why we created the business model that gets us to have that change in the long term.
So anybody that's had the experience of trying to install, let's say, Linux on top of a laptop that you go out and get a Dell, where you have to struggle with secure boot and all that kind of stuff, they're not going to have that problem with these
Yes, that's
machines.
right. And so it comes down to convenience. The reason that your wife doesn't want to use Linux as a kernel in their machine is because of convenience, right? It's that there's things that are cumbersome. So that's the big issue. When you're the days of buying hardware and installing your own software are long gone. Right? It's about the bundle you get and the convenience you get. So what we wanted to do is make it where the defaults are sane, easy to use, and configured where anybody can pick them up and use them. But also the people who are concerned or who are already GNU Linux users, then they can end up getting the machine and just loading whatever OS because we have the most strict operating system.
So there's going to be support in the at least 4.4, probably in even earlier versions of the Linux kernel for all the hardware that you're shipping here. Nothing is unusual or weird. You got the Atheros chipset and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so everything is stock with the exception of the trackpad, but we have submitted that to the kernel.
Is it Synaptics or?
No, it's actually BYD, which is one of the Chinese supply chain suppliers that we use. Very, very huge.
That's often one of the hardest things to get working on a laptop with Linux is making the trackpad do all the fancy things it'll do in Windows.
So that's actually an area that shows why our business model is good, is that BYD we can end up getting documentation for.
Great.
And then we have funded, through the sale of product, development on getting a three-finger scrolling on the and submitting that to the kernel. So that is
getting back into the open source.
That's right, exactly right.
Yeah. So you're contributing back as well.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
so and that goes to everything that we're doing, right? So even the you realize Oem installs, right? So if you were to get Ubuntu installed from Dell, Ubuntu had to go through a lot of extra steps to create an OEM install. So we did the same thing in the free software world. So anybody can now do an OEM install, which is that when you get the machine, we've improved upon it quite a bit because we actually just provide the entire ISO image at the end of your disk. So when you first boot it up, it just writes over and you can set up your entirely encrypt your drive.
See, that's nice because I don't want. Often an OEM setup isn't encrypted. They're maybe not using LLVM. They're maybe doing some other things that I wanted, not doing some things I want to do.
So what we do is we have all the defaults we'll just initially install where they only ask for username passphrase.
Make it as easy as possible.
But you can of course go to the advanced option, and you have the ISO at the end of the image where you can always do it.
So start over.
So our point is to really make it where it's convenient to be able to run a completely freed system.
Can people download the PureOS ISO and use on their own hardware?
Yeah, we have PureOS 2.1 right now. PureOS 3.0 is what we're submitting to the Free Software Foundation for endorsement as an operating system.
So tell us about what the goals of PureOS are.
Well, really, we kind of have three legs of the stool, and there's this fourth potential that we kind of add in there. So those are really freedom, so respecting users' freedoms, and then also privacy. So we default a lot of software where it doesn't track the user itself. And then the third thing is security. So we end up making the device as secure as possible.
Somebody's asking, can you run Windows on this? Actually, you probably could, right?
I'm sure you could. Obviously, we don't go through the pains of testing that. But we also have worked with, and we have Cubes certified, and Cubes, one of Cubes.
Cubes I like a lot.
One of Cubes' VMs is a Windows VM. And
nice.
So we know that that works on that as well.
That's great. This is really well made. It really feels great. And so you are selling these today.
That's right.
And people are buying them.
That's right, absolutely. And it's been overwhelming response, which has been
There's a lot of interest,
see.
I think, in doing this.
And we also have regular screws.
Oh,
so,
you can open it up.
That's right, yeah. And so you can replace.
That's unheard of.
So,
are you nuts? That's
so
great.
yeah, people are
Where
buying.
do you get, I've wondered. I've bought System 76 stuff. I bought stuff from ABMX, which is a free BSD integrator. Where are they getting this stuff?
So there's a lot of, in China itself, there's a lot of what you call reference designs or OEM designs. And so...
so you call up somebody in China and say, I want this, 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 but not that. And it's like a menu?
Well, it's so...
3 from column A, 1 from column B, and 2 from column C?
I would say that the way it has been done prior to us coming on the scene has been where you really have, it says, you get a couple options. Those options might be, how much the drive you want, the RAM you want, or the options you want to send. But that's really about where you get. What we actually did is we went and contacted deeper to get, because we wanted to actually manufacture the motherboard. So,
oh wow, you make your own motherboard
so we
too.
Make we manufacture our own motherboard.
I guess you have to if you don't want TPM on there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, TPM's not that bad, but the other things that could be bad, of chipsets that are not, that would require a binary to run.
Right. And I see you have LibreOffice on there and all the traditional stuff. And of course, you can install additional stuff. You're a Debian, so you're using apt as your package manager?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Wow, I'm impressed. These seem like really nice laptops. How much are we talking here?
Well, we actually have the 13-inch from about $14.99.
Okay.
And then the 15-inch is $18.99 at the base price.
And that is a Retina, or you can't use the word Retina. It's actually better than a Retina display.
Well,
what's the resolution?
It's a 4K. It's a
4K display on the 15-inch?
On the 15-inch, that's right.
That
Which
is
has actually
really
been,
nice.
if anything, the supply chain, really working through the supply chain delays has been the 4K display.
Yeah.
So we have a 2K version that we have been shipping, and then we have the 4K version that's if you place an order.
And you have the software on there. You're using GNOME Desktop, I see. That has high DPI support.
That's
so
right.
you're able to support. How about touch? Are you going to do anything with touch?
We do. So we actually have the 13-inch, which is a tablet, and it's actually convertible, so you can detachable. So you can detach the keyboard, and the 10-inch as well. Those are full touch enabled tablets, and that's one of the reasons we actually went with GNOME, is because we can enable touch, and then that gets us to our really long-term goals of moving on to a phone.
A phone?
That's right, exactly.
Not Android.
No, it won't be Android. It's going to be a GNU Linux, and then it'll be running a GNOME.
Nice.
That's right.
Yeah, that would be really interesting, I think, as a nice alternative. I mean, Android's running Linux kernel, at least, in the background. But it'd be nice to have a different, another choice, really, besides, the stock.
Well, I
Android
like
stuff.
using free software. I like the idea of free hardware. But of course, as soon as you go to a phone, you're in the there's no way to avoid being in a highly proprietary space.
Well, so that's where I would disagree.
There are phones. There's Black Phone. There's Firefox phone.
Yeah, those
there's
aren't going to
Ubuntu
really
phone.
count as far as what I'm going to go at the distance that we want to go with regard to a free phone. What we're actually going to be doing is a no carrier phone to begin with.
Okay.
So that would be because so many services can actually be done over the top.
Oh, you're not going to actually have a phone radio in it?
We will have wireless, and then we have a slot where if you want to add it, you would be able to add it.
Interesting.
So,
but you're right. Nowadays, you maybe don't need a cell radio.
Right. So you think? So the whole point is, it's skating to where the puck is going. That phone numbers will be obsolete.
Right.
Right. And you don't even have to pay the monthly fee for phone numbers. It should be a data-only connection. So
That's
this is
true.
where we actually can disrupt the entire telco.
How interesting.
By making it where you have an address, and that address is an app that you can email or text message or call or video call. And that should all be over the top.
Absolutely.
Right? It should be.
Yeah.
So the carriers should all be dumb pipes.
The last time you did something over the top, you were sued by 35 television and cable channels, right?
That's exactly right. This one's a little bit different. But
No, I like over the top. I think
right.
it's time.
I mean, it should be. They should be dumb pipes.
Absolutely.
Right? And we should just be able to do whatever we want to,
Absolutely.
encrypt it over it, and we should have control of our own personal
Would you have
device.
an LTE radio in there? Would you be able to?
So yes, we can, but again, this is where we get to having a slot where you can add it because of the limitations.
Because I don't have Wi-Fi everywhere I go.
right.
As I'm driving down the street, there's no Wi-Fi.
Right, so this is where it's great, especially for anybody in the car. You tether to their wireless, and you can have your,
That's what I need. I need a Karma Go or something, and use their Wi-Fi over LTE.
which would be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, and then I can go over the top even in the car.
So but you realize that that's all just simply a bridge. So
Right.
initially, like a number of issues why children don't have phones is, because they don't want to, the parents don't want to pay
Expensive,
the fee.
yeah.
But then also because then they have a phone number and
Right.
access. So
And-
if you actually just had a no carrier phone, which is what we were going to be coming out with,
Right.
then you can actually have it where you can communicate to them in an encrypted form. All the communication will be encrypted. And so that's where we're going with it. And then the long term will be that the disruption between the telcos will be we can finally put them into where they belong, which is dumb pipes.
So I see freedom, I see privacy. What about security?
So a few things with security. We actually have physical hardware kill switches for the webcam and microphone.
I like that.
So you can actually, rather than putting a piece of tape over it and
just
forgetting
turn it
the
off.
microphones on,
I like
the
that.
whole thing is killed. So that's actually, and that's at the circuit level, right? So
It
when
can't
it's
be
off,
overridden.
when it's off, you can't. It's physically not there.
No
for-
power going to it.
That's exactly right.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we also do full disk encryption. We add a number of hardening tools because one of the benefits we have by bundling hardware and software together is then all of our development efforts can go towards hardening things on our hardware.
You don't have to. This is Apple's benefit. They
That's
don't
exactly
have to
right.
think about 18 different video cards. They
That's right.
support the ones they ship.
That's exactly right. And then then the quality of that product can be greater.
Yeah.
And then that gets back to the convenience, right? So the convenience is where you can anybody can use a device because it's built when they first open it up that they're fully free and fully their rights are fully respected, and it's privacy protecting, right? So that it doesn't track them, it doesn't phone home. So we don't participate in any way with surveillance capitalism like Google or Microsoft or even Apple, where you have to register with an ID to simply turn on your device, right? So we are giving back the control to the users.
What do you think, Aaron?
I like it. I like it. But people can add on top of that. We were talking before about browser choice, for example. So you can install other software on top of this if you want to.
That's right.
But the thing is, when you get it out of the box, you don't have to worry that stuff is bundled in by default.
Well,
right,
and
absolutely.
I even see,
I think that's
distros that have an Amazon icon
Sure.
on there. Or, that's Ubuntu. For a while, you were searching through Amazon.
That's
Right.
right. Yeah, that's right.
And so sometimes free isn't as free as it might seem. I love the idea of having a pure, and I think your name is good.
Yeah, that's exactly
a
right.
pure, free operating system. Purism Computers is, what's the website?
PURI.SM.
PURI.SM. I'm going to buy one just to kind of support your mission, because I
Excellent.
think the key here is to bootstrap you up so you can do more. I want to get to the phone. I
it.
think
Yeah.
that is very
Or tablet.
exciting.
We have a tablet
Tablet
now
would be
with it's an 11-inch
Oh, okay.
tablet, and
Fantastic.
but we just did the pre-orders, so we're taking more
Great.
orders now.
Great.
We haven't shipped those yet, and so then we're going to probably ship those within the next 3 months, and then from there, that's the baby steps towards getting to the point of the phone.
Yeah. Well, you'll learn a lot just from the tablet.
Absolutely,
I mean, it's basically,
we already have,
yeah,
right?
Same thing, just
It's
a
just
bigger,
a big phone.
That's exactly
A
right.
big phone.
And so that was the obvious choice for us.
Yeah.
You think when will we see the phone? You think?
2017. We're gonna
Really?
yes, we're already underway, and we already started the process of writing the full encrypted communication services, and then once we have those ready, then we're going to be bundling that together with the phone.
And I imagine, just as there are OEMs that will make a laptop to specification, you can get a handset made to specification.
Right. That's right. Now, typically the volume has been tremendous, but now when you're going to China, it's interesting because they really overbuilt their
Right.
facilities.
Right.
So
You're benefiting from the mass quantities that Apple's producing. Everything gets less expensive. The capacity goes up, and and as you say, they have overcapacity. Right?
So they've actually built too many facilities now.
Yeah.
So when you go there, where before it would have to be a 1 million order run,
Right.
right? And then now you can actually negotiate relatively small runs with some bigger potential down the line. So we have to pay an upfront, it's called an NRE fee, right? So we pay an NRE fee to have the tooling done. But then we can do smaller runs to test out, and that also allowed us to do the crowdfunding campaign where we can talk about an initial order of just 500 units, right? But then we have more to come.
Well, I hope, Todd, you'll come back in a few months and show us a phone. I'd love to show the world that. And I'm going to run out and get one of your Librem laptops because I want to support this. This is real. I think I'm going to get that nice big. You still selling the 15-inch?
Yes, yeah.
That looks like a nice.
Yeah, this
screen.
is big and it's good quality too. I mean,
that's what I like. It's
all this
solid.
Stuff,
look at
not,
that.
Look at that. I mean, it's if you take a cheap laptop and you do that, it just goes like this. This is solid.
No, it's beautifully
This is nice.
made. Yeah. Todd Weaver, founder and CEO of Purism. This is the Librem line of Linux tablets, laptops, soon to be phones. You could find out more at puri.sm. No .com. .sm.
.sm.
Todd, really great to meet you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the
fantastic to be
work
on
you're
here.
doing. This is exciting. This is really exciting.